Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai, and welcome to He Kōrero I Ōpōtiki. My name is Ivor Jones. I'm a resident here in Ōpōtiki, and I'd like to welcome Katrina Adams and also Debbie Hoker. Hello, ladies.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
We're a group of residents in Ōpōtiki who are interested in having a kōrero about issues and topics that are relevant to us in our community. And today we've come up with 4 of these topics that we'd like to touch upon. Library to have added signage. Now, this has come straight out of Ōpōtiki News, the headlines. Predicted rates rises make tough reading. A volume of rubbish overwhelms contractors. And the dark and dangerous depths of TikTok. So tonight we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about those topics. So how are you all, ladies? How's your week been?
Very good. I'm at a party at the moment.
Alrighty, well, let's kick off our first topic then, eh? The library to have sign, despite online furore. Now, in Ōpōtiki News, this exact article came out, so it's been reprinted in in Radio New Zealand. And what was your take on that article, ladies?
Well, I thought they hadn't listened to the community. I mean, there's been a furore online, and the second line of that particular article, it says that despite against the recommendations of the council staff, they've gone ahead and pushed this through. And I feel that their conversations with Whakatohia, although Whakatohia looks like they have agreed that it might be a good idea that people need to know where the library is. I get the feeling that it's not altogether comfortable with the situation. Having gone against people's wishes, people kōrero about their name, Te Tahu or Te Rangi. So I think they've gone a bit rough really over this one.
What do you think, Debbie?
I thought the article was a bit confusing because they said when they questioned us as to why they had recommended the multilingual sign, because they said that they came out of the meeting with believing that they were in agreement. So I found that a little bit confusing. But I guess if Whakatū was, they probably wouldn't have agreed. They're willing to pay that much money for the sign, and then on the next page talk rates going up so high. I thought that was a bit on the nose. I think a multilingual sign would be considering how many nationalities we have with all our kiwi fruit people and people passing through.
On the District Council website, there are the minutes of that meeting, and if you click that and go to page 55, you can see what was talked about. Sorry for doing this, folks. I know it's a bit of an eyesore when you're trying to get up to page 55.
Yeah.
And here's the actual guff from the meeting.
Right.
Yeah, so it's great. It went up. What's the date today? 23rd. It went up today. So here's all of the guff. I'd encourage people to go to the Ōpōtiki District Council website and have a look. It's pretty easy to find. And you find in here all of the detail in the report that Anna Haywood prepared, which was quite comprehensive, I thought. It also talks about the consultation with Whakatohia and the subsequent meetings and further feedback around signage. And Danny Pararu, I've worked with Danny before, great fellow, great man. And so being diplomatic, I think, in terms of Whakatohia's position, saying that it is a district council building, so ultimately the naming rights are with the district council. But I thought it was an interesting process that they had gone through. And in the recommendations that, sorry folks, again, just to scroll through here, Anna highlights that there are a number of organisations, similar organisations in New Zealand, and they don't have a second name. So current sign, if you do a Google search, it has the District Library. So it is in there. There's a bit about feedback. But what do other councils and libraries do? So this is in here as well. Pukeariki, New Plymouth, right back to the power that sat on the site and the importance of knowledge. Pukeariki encompasses the museum. The museum words, the words library and museum appear on the building separate to the name Pukeariki. So could be an example. Tūranga, the main signage only displays Tūranga. A separate signboard notes Tūranga as the central library. Mā tuku tako tako. The main signage for the building is Mā tuku tako tako. However, a smaller sign near the door highlights the various parts of the centre, including the library. What do you think, ladies?
Well, I think the Te Tahu o Te Rangi is so more than library, and that should be so. There should be, if they're going to put library, they need to put arts exhibition centre. They need to put technical centre. It was already given a name as well as Te Tahu o Te Rangi, which I believe was the Technology and Research Centre. Anything, if anything should go on there, then that should go on there. Alternative to Te Tahu o Te Rangi. But anyway, people have expressed their opinions, and I think people have been quite vocal about this particular situation, and the fact that the council went to Whakatohia to talk about them, but still fought their point, which I believe is a bee in a bonnet that a couple of councillors got about the word library. They pushed it through, I think, against general consensus.
Although, when I have a look at the paper that was prepared, and there are other examples in New Zealand of libraries that still retain the main Māori name, but have some other signage indicating its general usage, that could be that could fit what's being asked. Do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think the word library is misleading because it's not just a library, as we all know.
Debbie?
So have a list of what it was called before. Technology and Research Centre is better. I think people have got hung up on this word library, which is just not a word these days when technology means that a building is so much more.
I agree. What do you think, Debbie? Not really. Oh, Debbie's frozen.
I think 120,000 pages is outrageous.
Oh, you're just reading through the...
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to...
I would disagree with Danny when he said the day it's the council decision, but the council is us.
Yeah, that's right. The council are working for us,
TikTok.
for the community, for the citizens.
Let's move on to TikTok.
Move on to TikTok? Okay, let's move on to TikTok. Do you use TikTok, any of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
TikTok is terrible.
You do, Debbie?
Only when my... I don't use it. I tell things from TikTok. Yeah.
Kate?
What's happening?
Do you use TikTok at all, Kate?
I do, yes. I watch TikToks. I certainly don't make them. I recognise that it's a phenomenal communications tool and creative tool for which has been completely embraced by the younger generations. So I use the occasional TikTok. I don't engage with it in any other way.
And for our viewers that might be watching, you can ask us a question on Facebook or YouTube. Just flick it in and it'll come across to us. So please ask any questions. And that was a big moth that just flew past my head. I got the window open because the last time I was cooking in here. And it's inviting the nightlife in because I've got my lights on. So lucky we're only going for half an hour. But yeah, ladies, I don't use TikTok at all. Uh, digital media is my sort of stuff as well as you, Kate, and it's really it's designed, social media and especially TikTok is designed to grab the worst of you, because I don't know if you've noticed, but you'll sit there and you'll be scrolling through an hour, little videos, and before you know it, an hour, 2 hours is gone, and it's a total time suck. But also kids can stumble onto stuff. And YouTube is doing this with their YouTube stories or shorts, whatever it is, and Facebook is doing reels. There are guys there who have guns, who have handguns, and go through the whole scenario of loading it, blah blah, all of that stuff, and it can quickly take you down a rabbit hole. And that was the article that was in the Ōpōtiki news today. It highlighted some of the concerns that Ōpōtiki whānau are having, especially with 10-year-olds having access to this thing. I have a 10-year-old boy myself and a 6 and 7-year-old. They are never having a screen by themselves. We've got friends who have kids. They have their own. These kids have their own phones. They're 10, 11, 12, and they're running around viewing whatever. Our boys only have access to a certain level of information, and when they get to 13, they get some more, and when they get to 16, they get more information. But giving a kid a phone with unfettered access to the internet is like giving them a loaded gun.
But like most technology, there are parental restrictions that you can apply on the software.
Oh, come on. But, when Facebook came out, 13-year-olds were not supposed to have an account, and they were all over it.
Yeah. But I want to say that parental restrictions, if you're particularly au fait, if you're used to working with tech, then, where do you apply the parental restrictions? What button do I click? What app do I go to? What setting do I set? Parental restrictions. So a lot of parents don't even know about the restrictions that they could do because they don't know how to work.
Oh, yeah. I see it as, just giving your kid a loaded gun, because it doesn't take just a few taps and they're in somewhere where they shouldn't be. So I look at it as access to information, like movies. You have PG, and then you have R13, R16, R18. That's access to information. And I remember when I was at high school, 13-year-olds, my other 13-year-old mates were watching R16, R18 movies and coming to tell us about it. And I'm going, wow. So I see it as access to information, and your kids aren't mature enough to have access to that information. And so if you give a kid a gun, he's going to use it. And that's my view.
Yep. But I think that I don't know what the percentage is of good content and bad content. But like everything in life, we need to teach our kids how to filter out that information, or as parents to apply restrictions through the technology. I don't think that's a reason for banning TikTok or for rejecting TikTok completely, because it is a great platform for people's creativity, for people to express themselves, especially young people. So I think it has its uses, it has its place, but yeah, I certainly think that restrictions for younger people, and certainly for content, this is what TikTok needs to be wary about. On the content, they need to be up on that and able to stop young people accessing it.
Mm-hmm. Debbie, what do you think? You got grandkids? Do your kids use this stuff? You're on mute, Deb.
Sorry. I have a granddaughter that uses her parents can monitor her and see where she's going and things. Yeah.
And that works out okay?
And they've got like Messenger as well. Which I think so, yeah. They can come in quite quickly. I've basically put on a photo that they shouldn't or something. Suddenly the mother can instantly go, no. Yeah. But not everyone knows how to do that, as Kate said.
I was a bit shocked the other day. Some friends were celebrating their 3rd wedding anniversary, and they said, what should you give a gift for their 3rd wedding anniversary is leather. So I put leather in a search engine, and it came up with
Leather whips.
S&M straight away. Videos were right there. If I think
Yeah.
the worst of, I mean, it was right there instantly. I was a bit concerned about that.
And unfortunately, that's the way the algorithms are designed, is to feed you that information. Yeah. So it only takes 3 or 4 steps until you're there. And unfortunately, that's the way it's designed. So yeah, it is teaching your kids how to use this information and to discern misinformation from accurate information. There's going to be a real skill that's going to come in the next 10 or 20 years. So yeah. Now, do you know how much your rates are, Debbie? Kate?
Looks like they're going to be.
Yeah. Well,
what did
they've
they
gone
say?
up.
14% increase?
Yeah, so thanks, Kate, for grabbing this article from the I Ōpōtiki News today. It was about the predicted rate rise make tough reading. How did anyone think we were going to pay for this infrastructure?
Well, nobody anticipated the inflation, the dramatic inflation. The cost of building materials, of any materials, has rocketed. That could not have been anticipated. So, the infrastructure that needs to be created.
But Kate, rates always rise. Okay, so here's my rates. Here's my rates. Again, go to the Ōpōtiki District Council. Chuck in your address. You can go and have a look. So that's how much my last one was.
Yeah.
Go back to 10 years ago, half that.
Yeah.
13 years ago, half
Can you
that.
make it bigger? I can't read that.
Sorry. Yeah. So in 2008, it was 1,600.
I have to say that 13 years ago, there wasn't a lot happening in a political development.
Sure. 2015. Okay. 5 years later or 6 years later. What's the projected increase? The article suggested that it may increase by a large number.
Is it 15%?
50, yeah. So how else were we going to pay for the harbour? Now, this is, inflation, as you've indicated, affects everyone. But I'm saying, and this related back to the elections which happened in October last year, I don't think, from recollection, any of the councillors said that a rates increase would happen, or they were quite gun shy. Now, I hope I'm being accurate on that. And I was sitting there going, well, how else are you going to pay for this? You've got to increase space. Is there another way? Is there a levy? Can you increase the levies on crucial people that will be using it so that they pay for it, rather than, is there a way of trying to share the costs around? But the ratepayer is going to end up with it. I thought that was obvious.
But the government, correct me if I'm wrong, Debbie, the government are paying for the largest amount of the harbour development.
I think it's maintenance, the ongoing maintenance. Like once it comes into the purvey of the I Ōpōtiki District Council, is their asset to maintain. And to maintain it, you have to increase your rates.
Right.
Unless you can tell me. Unless you can tell me differently.
Yes, I'm not aware.
Yeah, no. My understanding is it's been back to the I Ōpōtiki District yet.
Sorry, your understanding is that it hasn't.
It hasn't been handed back yet to us. It's under
It will be though, Debbie.
What's the name
And
of the
how's it?
company? It's being, yes, it will be, but I don't know if it will be this year's rates or not.
My view
I'm
is
not
it's
sure
going to
the
come back.
maintenance is going to be, yeah, it will come back, yeah.
So it's an asset that's coming back to the district council, and like everything else, everything needs to be maintained. So I understand
Yep.
that that's going to be a major
Yep.
cause of increase in the costs, besides inflation, etc. What do you think, Kate?
Well, I think it's a conversation about how stagnant a town stays, or how much it works in development, which will then bring money, more people into town. There's some silly statistic about if another 35 families move to Ōpōtiki, and the population has been consistently growing, then there will be so much more money for the council to be able to operate. It's a very small population compared to so many other places, and the Portuguese have been in the smell of an oily rag for so long that there's nothing that can be shaved off for the rates just for running the town. And the consequence is the lowest rates of the whole country last year. They were the lowest rates, I understand. So it's a deeper question about, do we just stay still and just barely keep things going, or do we try and progress and try and develop, try and encourage people to come to the Ōpōtiki, try and develop jobs, trying to develop workplaces. So
What is Mr. Brown? What is Mr. Brown doing in Auckland?
I don't know. What is he doing?
He's closing. Well, he's going to do something with parks and libraries and stuff like that because of the cost of inflation. So I'm just drawing the parallel there that if we're going to try and pay for these costs, how do we pay for them? And one way that Wayne Brown is doing it is cutting social services to try and keep his city running. My question to, sorry, go, Kate. My question to Mr. Moore would be, okay, how are you going to pay for the harbour? Are you going to get those commercial people to pay a higher levy who are using it to pay for it? So user pays, and then you're going to give part of that cost, ongoing cost as well, to ratepayers for them to carry, or is there some other way? Because as you say, it's the lowest rates in New Zealand, and I've just shown you it's increased twofold in the last 10 years. There's a projected increase of 15%, if I'm correct there. So I can't see any other way.
Well, let's leave the harbour maintenance, which will happen once, as you say, the harbour comes to the responsibility of locals instead of national government. That thing costs. It's really difficult to shave any more off unless you have to close a library, or have to close the parks, or have to close the toilets, you have to stop the barbecues outside the surf club, have to stop the water jets in the kiddies' playground in Church Street. And I know people are really struggling paying their rates, and keeping fixed income, and it was a huge whack. What kind of town do people want to live in?
Big question. And our last question, Maud won't be able to come in today. Maud's called up, so kapai, because Maud has given us our last subject for today, and that's Gold Road and the Yakiwara State. Yeah. So, folks, I've driven down Gold Road a couple of times, but wasn't aware that this sort of stuff was going on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it just takes one or two or three people out of the reduced population to mess it up for the rest of everybody.
Yeah, it looks like it was a bit of a construction site, hey? There's looks like metal in the back there, and someone's just gone and dumped it around the back.
Yeah. But it's obviously been happening for a while because there seems to be so much of it.
Yeah. And they had to get Delta in to fix it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's appalling. Somebody must know somebody who's doing it, and it will be just a handful of people who are doing it, and it's just a thing.
Every 2 weeks, I get my recycling of rubbish and drive it into town, go to the refuse centre. And if you've got recycling, it's free. But if you've got rubbish, it's $3 a bag, I think, and it goes. That's how I do it. But I've never thought of bloody doing this sort of stuff.
No,
yeah,
I see in.
Go ahead, Deb.
I see in the paper that they've asked people to report that there is some fly tipping. So I know there's a place that we call Cowbone, and it's down the side of a bank, and it's very hard to get a photo because you can't lean over and get a photo. You have to go to the other road around it, but the rubbish that's down there, I don't know how they'd get it. They'd go to the riverside and drag it down. It's terrible.
So not only do they dump the rubbish, they dump it somewhere which is inaccessible to people to clean it up. It's incredibly despicable. If you live in Whakatane, you go and take your rubbish to the dump. You will blow your socks off how much you have to pay to drop off rubbish at their resource recovery centre.
Oh, okay.
It's phenomenal. If you've got anything other than recycling, I think a friend took some building materials, a trailer load, not a big trailer load. The Whakatane ended up paying something like $150. It's really not that expensive in a Ōpōtiki. I know people struggling again, but there has to be another way because this is just the people and the environment.
Yeah, I hope Uncle Chris Hipkins can go and sort of hit the banks who are making billions of dollars of profit. And I know this isn't David Seymour's cup of tea. He'd rather not have them pay more tax because he says his argument is they have to take it away from the customers. My view is if we were able to rearrange all the tax rules and go and hit those corporates, then we will be able to pay for the harbour. We would be able to pay for everything. But unfortunately, they have lawyers and accountants. They can find all of the loopholes so they don't have to pay any tax. And that's my rant anyway.
Yep. I think you can have free resource recovery centres for people who don't throw their rubbish everywhere else.
Yeah. So maybe Mr. Moore, our mayor, can hit the corporates more to pay for this harbour rather than a very depressed area that is coming out. That is coming out of it, as my mate Mike Fletcher says in his opinion pieces in the Ōpōtiki News. But yeah, anything you'd like to end with, the ladies?
Yeah, how many people have you got on with us?
Oh, people have been coming in and going out, so there's one or two on now. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure who they are because I'm trying to monitor all of this stuff and keep everything going.
I really appreciate that you.
Any questions?
That's it. No questions have come through, other than Maud saying that she'd like to talk more about the kaupapa of Galt Road and the dumping at our next kōrero. So we'll pick it up then. Yeah. Okay, ladies. Hey, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube. Like it, flick it around if you can. We'd love for you to do that. This is just some interested people getting together around the table and talking about some interesting topics that relate to Ōpōtiki. I think we've hit on a few today: the naming of the library, rates increase, dumping of rubbish, and of course the TikTok phenomenon, which is having an effect on our people here in Ōpōtiki. Thank you very much, ladies, for tuning in and contributing to the kōrero. It is 30 minutes and 15 seconds. We did it again.
Great. Thank you very much.
Pō Marie.
Pō Marie. Cheers.